Kevin Langue show has been super popular the last couple years, where 5 panelists, Kevin, Denny, Aaron, Herm, and a special guest, all try and guess who the odd ones out is, depending on the topic for that episode, where it's either rappers, teachers, or matching the significant other or job to the person. However, there have been some jokes or even some product placement you may have seen about a Kevin Langue product actually being released. So today, that's what I ended up making in case this actually gets released, because I can't tell. He seems very invested.
Stop devaluing our brand. He has stake in that, brother.
For some context, I've only been watching the Kevin Langue show for about a year, but even still sprinkled throughout the last 6 months worth of videos, Kevin definitely makes sure to show the product to some degree.
What's this?
No,
Kevin Langue juice.
Sorry, I was feeling thirsty.
That shit is the nastiest shit I've ever drank in my life.
Kevin Langue juice available at Home Depot.
Let me get my new business on the table.
Oh.
Kevin juice?
A problem worse than my upload schedule was finding a good place to start on this project. We had the name Kevin Langue Juice, the base mockup was yellow and blue, and the other circle one, but no other specific visuals. Kevin just cut a picture of himself out and put it on the can. So just like all my other drink product videos, cause that's all I apparently do now, roll the... Like I said, there weren't a ton of immediate visuals that I could think of off the bat when I saw the little mock-up Kevin made. And unlike previous projects, I don't have the bias of knowing this creator or consuming their content for 3 years or more. But I did do the research on Kevin, seeing how he got into content creation, kind of his whole channel discography. I may or may not have gotten a lot of information from the one main interview he recently did on a podcast. But after some time, I decided it would be pretty cool to take some design inspiration from Kevin's home country in Senegal. Architecturally speaking, there seemed to be a lot of triangles, a lot of shapes, and a bunch of sharp points. Pretty much no rounded sections. I also don't know the realistic depiction of using this architecture as a sample reference, because I'm sure not every neighborhood in Senegal looks like these houses, just like not every neighborhood in the US looks like this. But I really like the style. There are also a lot of patterns, repetition, and really warm, earthy tone colors. So again, I wanted to build off of that. From scrolling more and more into shape design, poster design, again, more geometric, Bauhaus, base, graphic designer, basic knowledge, poster stuff, I found this image of the Beatles. This style may look a bit familiar because I'm pretty sure this was a trend in like the 2010s where every single YouTube thumbnail for a Photoshop tutorial had this style in the thumbnail. This specific style, where it's like all geometric and shape-based, is actually called WPAP art style. It's created by an Indonesian artist named Weda Abdul Rashid. Butchered that. Plus name Wedad Pop Art Portrait. WPAP. So yeah, not actually fully Senegalese style directly, but I really like the sharp geometric points with the colors overlapping to make it look like it was glass. And again, I thought it was pretty close to the architecture style that I had found previously. Now that I had a style reference, I needed a photo to put the style reference to. And if we look at the original sample that we started with, where it was just Kevin J chilling on the can next to his name, I kind of thought it would make sense that every can would be a separate flavor with that comic's picture on the can. So there would be one for Kevin, there would be one for Denny, Aaron, Herm, all separately with like a waist up photo. Until I went across Aaron's Instagram and found this man does not post regular photos of himself on Instagram. Kevin though, oh man, that was a library. And then I found this photo, which again was perfect because it actually had all 4 of them included, and it was like a serious photo, if you can call it that. Like I didn't have to crop each person out of a separate environment and kind of build a collage of them. Kind of like a movie poster for Endgame or Avengers. It could actually be one almost photo shoot-like photo. However, before moving on with the photo style and how it would visually look, I did need a text logo. The show primarily uses this bold sans serif font, which can be found on the mugs across the store or on the sign that's in the background of his ad reads, and pretty much that is the show's logo. And turns out the font was already on my computer, bless up. Then I made the juice word a nice script font so it could balance out the boldness of the Kevin Langue. Again, also looking at all the variations of the logo, this seems to be a common pairing of the bold text and the cursive. Did a quick round of sketches to combine both the photo style and text together. Now that that was finished, for the next, I don't even know how many hours this took, I started tracing the original image with just the pen tool. I saw a couple tutorials showing how you could kind of do this more efficiently with the line tool, but that got complicated very quickly. And I had a lot of experience putting time and effort into things that wouldn't pay off until much later. So now we have the regular colors of this whole illustration. Again, I totally condensed this goddamn time lapse, but now we just needed to change the colors to have a lot more variety in colors. Kind of, again, like all those reference images that I found. Humbled. One word to describe this experience. I did not think this was gonna take long at all. I thought I was just gonna spend most of the time drawing all the shapes over the image and then just take all the original colors and then just chuck in some yellows and chuck in some greens and blues and I would be done. But when I did that, it, one, completely did not go in the direction I wanted it to. And two, it now looks like a wine label. So even with a bunch of reference images with tons of different colors, I still went and did trial and error to see if the colors matched each person and then also all together. But I ended up creating my own kind of color palette for each person. That color palette being all the colors. Every single color that was in the reference images, I just pulled into like a little square palette and then just, again, did more trial and error to see which one of these colors basically just acted like a funnel. I took all the colors that kind of worked and I put them into something that I think worked a bit better. Again, this took tons of time. Unfortunately, I didn't even do this on purpose. I naturally chose to have each person's suit be a different color, and then I had to balance out all the suits together so it didn't look imbalanced. Yeah, that I didn't have that written down or anything. My eyeball did that. Now that we had the front cover, I could finally move to the back, which again, I thought it would be cool to add another shape geometric based element so it could kind of like complete packaging. So I went back to that same post because it was another like photo shoot, you could call it, where he's wearing the same suit because it was at the same time and it was announcing the new season. So I thought that was perfect to kind of like put both on the can. Next, like always, I added the nutritional info, which was pretty much a direct copy from Olipop. I did want it to be healthier, even though technically Olipop's like a soda. This didn't really matter because it was a mock-up. Like at the end of the day, the number of calories just does not matter. I also thought it would be cool to add the signature of each comic on the back of the can. So again, it could specify that that can flavor was for them. Did the classic QR code Easter egg that I normally do. I took KLSE and put it in numeric form because that stands for Kevin Langue Show Enterprises, which again, was on that post that I took the photos from. After these elements I made, I could finally focus on the background, which again, I tried to emulate that same effect with the WPAP pop art and sharp triangle edges, so the background actually ended up looking like a low poly style. Changing the colors was a bit difficult because I didn't want to do the same thing I did for the kombucha product because those were just, again, all bright colors and I did not want to have the same branding to this, which leads me to the name of the flavors. And when I originally made the flavors, I actually showed Paris because she'd been watching the show longer than me, and she said that I could just roast them way harder with the names. So we got the 5 flavors. For Kevin's flavor, after doing some research, I found out that he mainly said he always mainly had white friends.
A lot of my friends were white. I didn't have a lot of black like friends, especially like funny friends.
So to match the flavor, we got Vanilla and Company, because vanilla is the white friends and I probably don't have to explain that. Next up is Denny, which is pretty obvious, going for the main joke of Little Strawberry Delight, just to make his height that much more delicate. For Aaron, there were a lot of hairline jokes that I saw in roast compilations on like TikTok and Instagram, but I thought the funniest one was him literally being called an alien. That ticks off the hairline, head size, and dress style in one, so we named it Alien Head Zest. Herm was definitely a lot more difficult because the main roast they kind of roast him for is just being homeless. He's really tall and bald. So I went the homeless direction and it's gonna be called Park Bench Punch. And for the mystery flavor, I wanted to pay homage to the fact that they always have a mystery guest for each video. So there's like a little bit of change up, but they have the same panelists. So because they have to guess the odd ones out with a mystery guest, I made the mystery guest guess flavor. I don't even know what the flavor is. I just saw guess was a really good alliteration. Yeah, that transition was not as good as the design was. But at this point, I had all the flat art designed. Now, I just needed to mock it up. You could say I've done this whole drink product packaging thing a few times, and I wanted to do something different instead of just putting this on a flat mock-up in Photoshop. Dare I say, I wanted to venture out into making a 3D animated commercial, almost like a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola ad. That was ambitious, to say the least. Using Blender, I've
Never used Blender before.
I started with a free soda can model I luckily found, because if I had to model that, but after 5 minutes, I immediately ran into my first problem, because why wouldn't I? How do you add texture to the object? That was probably pretty obvious. I found some tutorials, and let me just save you the time. 1, it's a lot more complicated than it should be. 2, I messed up like 10 times, so I had to restart each time. And 3, it's not nearly that complicated when you do it 10 times in a row. Texture is now attached, okay? Nice, locked in. Now I can move to the other 4 flavored cans. Nope. Now, the same texture either showed up on all the different cans, or when I added a new texture and changed the file, the texture of the new texture was still under the metallic texture and not where the original texture was supposed to be. Texture. Succumbed to ChatGPT for this specific situation because I was so confused, and there were literally so many tabs to scroll through. Like, I'm used to just selecting pretty fonts. Long story short, I attached the textures on all different cans, I made the scene, I created the lighting, I added the cameras, and then it finally became simple again because they had a brain and made it keyframe based for animating, which, shocker, I could finally listen to my brain. That was under the animation tab. Now finally, I don't even know how long this took because the recording files show me starting on this project so long ago. And the worst part is I probably could have done this whole fucking thing with an AI prompt, but no. Finished a bunch of different scenes to animate the can at different angles. I can finally now present to you Kevin Langue Juice.
Back in my bag and I gotta brag, I do this shit for real. When we was down and we had nothing, we had to share a meal. We put the shit in overdrive with no steering wheel. Shorty throw that thing back in a pair of heels. Yeah, and she be riding on that thing like a Ferris wheel. Yeah, I love them dark skin, brown skin, caramel. You know I had to bring it to the hood like she Karen Civil when she keep on turning head. Cause when she walk that thing, jiggle, and we going back.
Thank you so much if you've made it this far. I don't think this video's length does this justice about how long this took. Kevin, if you're watching, I would love to know your thoughts. Again, I don't know if you're being for real about this product. Also, would love to be on the show. Please DM me. Please subscribe. We are almost ambitiously to 10,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in my next video.